The meta in the Korean PvP scene has been shaken to its core, and with the launch of Lost Ark in the NA EU region just a couple of weeks away, I think it's time we talk about it. So before we dive on into the video, let's actually talk about what's going to be in the content of this video. And first off, we're going to be talking about what changes are going to be coming from the Korean server that possibly will affect the NA EU launch. Secondly, we're going to be doing a tier list with the changes from KR in mind, just so you guys are aware of what I think is good or what changes are going to happen with the meta when the changes come. Also, the format is going to be in a ranked 3v3 perspective. If you're just new to the game and you're going into ranked matchmaking, going against other players in the region who are essentially new as well, that's going to be the general format for this tier list. And finally, before we get started, don't forget to like as well as subscribe. We have a lot of PvP guides coming up this week and next week, and you want to stay tuned before the launch starts in a couple of days. And with that out of the way, let's dive on in with first the changes that we'll see in the NA EU release of Lost Ark. So first off, let's talk about the stat changes. In PvP currently, you can stat yourself with 1,000 points in any stat if you dare choose. You have a total of 1,250. Typically, when it comes to statting yourself in PvP, most players will never go over 1,000 in anything other than agility. Or you can't go over 1,000, but you know what I mean. You can't, no one picks like 1,000 points in anything other than agility because of how good the stat usually is. For the people who are not aware, what the stat does, it gives you move speed, it gives you attack speed, it makes your cooldowns lower, it makes your animations like go off faster, and then it will make your dash, spacebar dash, lower cooldown, and it also affects like when you get knocked down and you try to get up with the spacebar, it makes that lower as well. So when it comes down to it, most players are going to max that out to 1,000, but generally speaking, you're going to get that as high as possible because of the so many benefits that it have. So with the changes coming, you're only going to be able to put 750 into agility, meaning you're losing 25% of your stats that you previously had. This is going to slow down a lot of people's abilities because some characters have really high cooldowns, some characters have cast times that takes a while, and for classes like the ShadowHunter, for example, you won't actually be able to get off some of your combos by the time the immunity kicks in. And essentially in the PvP scene, you have 300 seconds to do a match. In the changes coming, you're gonna have 240 seconds, so 4 minutes instead of 5 minutes. Now, why this is important is because one, some classes are transformation reliant. Actually, the ones that's going to be affected the most isn't going to come in NA EU launch, which is usually the Destroyer. I think he's going to get the biggest nerf for this change. But like if you're playing a Demonic, you're playing a Berzerker, like you're going to have less time to transform. And so that's going to hurt you in the long run. And you couple that with the fact that you have less time, you're going to have less time to actually mount the comeback if you're ever behind. And take into account that we're reducing stats, which means everyone's slower, animations go off slower, everyone's moving slower, everyone's attacking slower, everything is going to be slowed down. So you're going to be slow, and then there's going to be less time. So it's actually going to affect the game in multiple ways. Next is the field of view change, and the field of view change is going to be, to my understanding, don't quote me on this, I believe it was 10% increase in the field of view. Now this is significant for melee, and this is a direct nerf in my opinion to ranged characters because you know that range advantage that they once had, at least from a vision standpoint, is going to be reduced, and melee is going to be able to see you a lot better. And normalization of knockups is actually a mechanic I didn't even know about up until recently, and some classes in Lost Ark just simply gets knocked up and they fall slower than others. I know for a fact the Arcana is one of them that will fall faster than others, and so if she gets controlled and get knocked into the sky and she's helpless, well, she'll fall faster, and then she can like use her roll escape or whatever and get out. And I don't really understand the reason for making someone like Arcana, who is fairly mobile, have a faster knockdown and be less punished for making mistakes. But they're changing it to normalize it across the board so everyone fall at the same speed, so they'll be all at the same playing field. And those are the changes that we should see coming to NAEU. It's not confirmed. Obviously, no one knows if it's going to come. We're going to have to wait for Smilegate and Amazon to give confirmation or play it. But those are the changes that you should expect to see in PvP in Lost Ark. Now that we finish up with this, we're going to move on to the tier list with these changes in mind in a 3v3 format. Alright, now we're on the tier list, and let me preface this before we go in that this is purely my opinion and my opinion only. I'm taking into account opinions of others who play in high level, my skill set and my experience within the game, and I'm using that as a full combination of like my experience to bring this tier list to you. So take everything with a grain of salt. This is just my opinion, so don't get upset if you don't agree. But if you don't agree, let me know what you would personally change in the tier list. And yeah, let's get started. We're gonna go from left to right, and we're just gonna talk about it, and we're gonna talk about it with the changes in mind. So Deathblade is first up, and Deathblade is again a S tier. I gave her a S tier pre-nerf, and I'm gonna give it to her post-nerf because at the end of the day, while her cooldowns are gonna be affected by this, she did get a buff in the form of like she is melee, and she's going to be able to see the arena a lot better. She's going to be able to gap close on range much better. And I think overall, if you take into account all the changes coming, I don't think she's going to be so heavily affected. I mean, she's going to have to like take her time and pace herself on her initiations and be a little smart on her cooldowns, but overall, I don't think she's going to be that affected, and she's already a really strong class. And I think one of the biggest things that's going to make her strong is the fact that most of these classes that you see down here at the bottom line, the Reaper, Arcana, Destroyer, Scouter, they actually really counter her, and they're not going to be in the NA release, and she does well against most of these other classes, actually Lance Master actually counter her really well as well. So you got a really strong class that's, in my opinion, fairly easy to play, that does decent damage, and taking into account she won't have her counter classes during the launch, she's just going to run rampant in my opinion. So Deathblade is still in S tier. ShadowHunter, I'm going to put her a low S for now, and she may change by the end of this tier list, but I think she's a solid low S. The reasons for her being a low S is quite simple. She has good melee builds. She got good hybrid range builds. She will be able to see the field, so she's not going to be as affected by this change as other classes. Her cooldowns are reasonable. Her super armors aren't the best, but she does fine. But I think the biggest thing is she has good melee builds and she has good range builds, and she match up actually fairly well against almost everyone. She doesn't have any major counters, I don't think, and then she actually complements her team really well. And seeing that you're gonna be a new player, she just complements her team really well, and you should do fine with her. So I'm gonna put her at low S, but she may change to high A, depending on how we go with this list. So Artilerist is gonna be a low A for me. Blaster Artilerist. And the major reason I'm not putting him in B right now is not because I think he's that good, but I do think that players are going to be new and they're not going to pay attention to his AoEs on the ground, like the missile that he puts down. They're not going to pay attention to the combo that's been like used on their friend. I mean, they don't do it on the Russian server, and they've been playing for years. So I think this is going to be a low A, at least for a couple of months, and then once people get a little more familiar, he's going to go down to a high B, in my opinion. But I'm going to put him at low A right now, but we're going to change it in the future, honestly. Deadeye, Devil Hunter, this is the male gunslinger. I think he is a B tier. And the reason I'm putting him in B tier is because, one, with the nerf to swiftness, he's not going to be able to get off all his combos Previously he needed, I believe it was like 950 agility or 900 and something to be able to get off his full combos. And so with this change, some of his combos are actually going to change. Secondly, his ultimate is kind of bad in my opinion. I don't like his zoning one, the one where he throws them in a circle and like blow things up. And I think his sniper one's okay, but I think his ultimate's really bad. And then compared to someone like the Gunlance, which is gonna be his, like, that's his counterpart class, he doesn't even have a double dash. His agility's nerfed. I don't know. I don't think he's that great. I think he's just a worse gunslinger in every way. And I think you would just play Gunslinger if you're gonna play a Deadeye. So that's my opinion on that. And I also think I'm gonna put Gunslinger above him because of those reasons. She has a dash that does like a extended dash thing. Her ultimates are really, really good. And also, I didn't even mention about the Deadeye. He is required to go into melee. Actually, I didn't even mention this about the Artilerist. The Artilerist is going to get buffed from being melee. So he wants people to fight into him. And since he can see better, that's why I'm actually bringing him up to like a high B. And that's kind of the problem with the Deadeye. He kind of has to get in close range to deal damage. And like he's like a range parading around as a melee in my opinion. Or a melee parading around as a range in a lot of cases. And so I feel like if he has to get in close range, he's going to get nerfed against melees, because melees is just going to see him coming with the field of view change. Gunlance, on the other hand, she actually does better damage at range. And so I think that she can be more effective at dealing damage better than he does, because he is a range after all, but he parades around as a range and he's basically a melee with his damage in a lot of cases. So I think Gunslinger is just better because of all of those reasons, and just her ultimate just isn't completely trash. So next is Sharpshooter, and Sharpshooter is a solid C. It has always been pretty bad, and here's the reasons, and I'm going to explain it to you. He is very range reliant class, and he's going to be suffering from the field of view change. He's already pretty weak because he's predictable. If he's reliant on his stealth, you can easily predict his movement, and if you can see that, you can easily predict his movements. On top of that, he has actually fairly long cooldowns, I think, compared to like other classes. And you add the fact that he's going to get more swiftness nerfs, he's going to be slower, he's going to be lower, his cooldowns are going to be longer. I think he's just fundamentally just worse than what he was before. So pretty bad, I think, overall. And then again, you're going to put it in the hands of a new player who isn't probably going to try to like juke and like hide their stealth. I don't think Sharpshooter is good. I don't think it's been good. Like, don't get me wrong, like in the right hands it can do well, and I've seen some monsters on Sharpshooter, so don't let it discourage you from like playing it. But like once you start to get into higher like ELOs and higher MMRs, like you're not gonna like style on kids like you do in the lower MMR brackets. But I mean, I like it, but it's just not strong. Those too many negatives from this nerf that's affecting him. So next we're gonna go to the Bard, and she is again another S tier class. I think she's probably like the third best class in the game right now, maybe second. She has really good super armor protection during her cast. She has CC immunes that she can put on her teammates. She has okay mobility. She's a damn good support overall, and what her utility that she brings to the game is just insane. For those reasons, she's going to be S tier. I mean, she just brings so much utility that even with the swiftness nerfs and the range nerfs, it's not a big deal, in my opinion. Next, Sorceress. And I know last time I did a tier list with her, I didn't have a much experience with her. I actually have a lot of experience playing against her and with her, and I think she's a solid S tier class, honestly. She has really good identity skill, the one that makes her like the casting one, I don't know what it's called. She has really high AoEs, like they're really big. She has a lot of abilities that do have some fairly instant casts. She has like this lightning orb that will stun you. It's a hard CC, like a tier 3 CC, and it lingers for like 4 seconds, so you can always land it. She has that massive knock-up AoE that she can put on herself, so she's like really good against melees for a caster, which is insane. She's good against range because, again, she's a caster herself, so she's not going to feel that effect of that nerf as heavily as others. She has really good damage, like she can nuke you in a few seconds. She has really high mobility. I've seen sorceresses like blink 3 times in a row and just get the hell out. Her biggest negative is she's squishy, which is expected from a mage, but her upside, but the thing is you have to like land your skills as well in order to like get those like extra blinks and stuff, which is not hard with this class. So I honestly think she's busted in my opinion, and I think she needs to be play tested before released into ranked, if you ask me. But nonetheless, I think she's a little on the overtuned side in my opinion. So S tier for all those who are interested in playing Sorceress in AEU. She is a S tier in my opinion. No less than an A, like no less than an A. Worst case, no less than an A for sure. So next we're going to go into the Striker, and I'm gonna do Striker and then I'm gonna do Warddancer. Okay, so let's talk about these two classes since they're counterpart classes and why I think they are where they are now. I previously put Warddancer as well as Striker in the C tier, and the reason why I'm changing these two are because one, the Striker is very fast on his cooldowns, and previously with 1000 agility you could just spam it. I feel like compared to the other classes with the agility nerf, I don't feel like I feel it as heavily with the Striker as I do with every other class. Like he is spammy on his abilities, and so he's gonna be feeling like still very mobile. He's still gonna do a lot, and then couple that with the field of view change, he's just gonna be able to see better and get a lot of like attacks off and be more effective on the battlefield. And that kind of goes the same with the Warddancer. She doesn't feel like she lost too much. And then you add into the fact that she's gonna have the buffs that reduce all the damage that for her whole entire team, because she has the team buff that reduce damage to her team, and that's why I'm putting her in a low A over the Striker. She's less mobile as him, not by much, but she has a team buff that is probably one of the best team buffs in the entire game. So that is the reason why I'm actually raising these two up to B as well as A. I don't think she's a high A or S, and I don't think he's like a high B, but they're definitely not a C tier anymore. So Scrapper is going to be the next one, and she is also going into the B. Again, she's just mainly getting better from the fact that she can see better, but other than that, she doesn't really get much stronger than what I gave her last time. I think the Scrapper's biggest problem in PvP is that she does 0 damage. She has some of the most impactful punches in the game, but she doesn't hit that hard, honestly. I feel like half the time when I punch with her, she's healing the enemy. So I think the Scrapper needs some type of damage buff, because I feel like she's very underwhelming. Her attacks are kind of slow, and yeah, you put those things together, and she just isn't that great. I mean, she can see now enemies a lot better, and like maybe gap close a lot better and stuff, because she can see their movement and predict, but outside of that, she needs some damage, man. She doesn't do damage. So next, Soulfist, and Soulfist is a tier as well. I thought I put her S, maybe I put her S last time, or maybe I put her A. I think she's an A now. The range nerf is hurting her. The cooldowns are gonna hurt her too a bit, and while she does have like a hybrid melee playstyle, I still think she's a solid class though. I think she still does like a lot of damage. I think she's still pretty good if you position her right, and if you can use her nukes very effectively, her Super Saiyan forms effectively. I think she's still strong. But yeah, I think she just suffered a little bit from the changes, but overall I don't think she's that heavily touched. Just like some of her field of view things is just gonna be a disadvantage for her. But on the flip side, when she like gap closes, it's gonna be a lot easier for her. Next, we are going to talk about Berzerker. This is the class I was gonna actually headline with rather. And I'm gonna put this guy, where do I put this guy? I think I put him B. I think he got a little worse. Well, actually he didn't get that much worse because some of his cooldowns actually changed, I think. I think they changed some of his cooldowns, and then when he got the nerf with the stats, it kind of like evened itself out, kind of. I don't know. I think that's what happened with the Berzerker. But I mean, the Berzerker is kind of like, how do I put the Berzerker for a new player to explain when I play him? He feels like a melee support, honestly. Like, he is not really a character that's gonna like take over the whole game, in my opinion. Like, he's gonna set like Deathblade up, he's gonna set like other characters up, but I don't feel like when I'm playing a Berzerker, he's gonna be the guy that just goes in and just like dominates, you know? So if he doesn't have like good support, like a good supporting like backup with him, he doesn't do much. He gets controlled very heavily, he gets focused, and he gets beat up. Like, if he has like a bard sitting behind him and keeping him immune, or he has like a demonic following up, a ShadowHunter following up and helping him, or Deathblade like jumping in and then he reinforce her, like, you're gonna have a field day in that fight. But if he's by himself and he has like 2 passive class sitting back, he just get whopped. So that's why I'm putting Berzerker in the back, because he's just a little too supporty for my taste. And with the changes, he's just a little weaker. But I mean, he can gap. He has decent gap close now, and now that he can see better, is like okay. So that's why I'm putting him B. And I'm gonna put Artilerist at the back because I think this is temporary for the Artilerist. So keep that in mind. Next is, and I'm gonna put Gunslinger above, Deadeye above Berzerker. I don't know. I don't know which one of these two is better. I mean, I think Deadeye is still decent, but anyway. Gunlance is next, and Gunlance is, I'm gonna put him high A. I think he's borderline S, honestly. So he has good shielding. He has really good team buffs. He has okay stuns, tier 3 stuns. He has the best, the lowest dodge in the game. He's a hybrid support that can be kind of annoying. He can deal damage if you're hitting your combos. I think the Gunlance is still always going to be a good solid because, one, he's a support, and supports in Lost Ark are just phenomenal. And yeah, he just provides too much. He's a good frontliner. He has good supporting skills, good team skills. Just everything about him is good. I don't think I would ever not want a Gunlance on my team unless I'm just like too many supports. But he's a solid class. And you have to take into the account that he's a melee as well, so he can see better and he can like predict movements a lot better. That's the makings of an A tier class, honestly. And last but not least, Holy Knight. And this one, he's gonna be a very solid S, as you can expect. And I think he's actually the best class in the game. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put him in the best class in the game. In the top 3, like in the top 5 here, I think he is by far the best class. If I have to order this, maybe I have ShadowHunter a little too high. I think she may be a high A. And I think this is how I'm gonna look at it. But yeah, Paladin is S. We'll order it in just a second. But Paladin is a S for sure. I mean, I would put him above SS if I could, you know. He has some of the best team supporting skills, shielding. He has some of the best, like he has that one ward skill where he will put down an AoE that will reduce damage allies take by 70%, put a shield on them, and then it will stagger enemies within the AoE. Like, how is that balanced? Someone tell me how that's balanced. Anyway, he has ultimate that is fairly easy to land, and it does quite a bit of damage, and it put a shield on you, and it knocks the enemy up. That's just phenomenal. And then you add into the fact that he has a shield that heals, he has a shield that increases your move speed, he has decent AoE control, he has decent damage. He's not the most mobile, but like he can move. Like, there's nothing really bad about the Paladin, and he's like a S tier all the way. He also, I could be wrong, don't quote me on this, I think he gets a buff that makes it so that his Guardian Angel, where he jumps up and slams down and like give everyone the shield, gets buffed. So rather than having to slam down on your allies, if your enemies are like within, like if your allies are within 25 meters of the slam, he will actually just give the shield to them, and you don't even have to aim it at your team slash enemies at the same time anymore. And that's like a PvE change that indirectly buffs Paladin. Paladin is like so good, been pretty dominant for a very long time, and I'm actually considering like maining it when it comes out, because like for PvP this guy is a god, and PvE he's a god. I'm kind of gushing over Paladin right now, sorry, but he's such a, I just want to make sure you guys know why this guy is good and why he's a borderline bully when it comes to PvP, because he's a borderline bully in PvP. But yeah, he's an S tier, and I'm gonna go one over and look at it and make sure this is accurate to what I think is good. So Paladin is clearly, in my opinion, the best class in the game, followed by Deathblade. I do think she is purely the second best class in the game for her, from her utility and just from being like really good damage and easy to pick up. Same with Bard, really good support. Do I think the Sorceress is better than Shadowhunter? I think she is. And do I think the Shadowhunter is better than the Gunlancer? I don't think so, but I think he can be. Gunslinger, Warddancer, I think this is fine. I do think the Gunslinger is a little bit better than the Warddancer. Soulfist, Artilerist, this is fine. I think I put Artilerist high B, but he's just gonna be A temporarily, and then he goes down to B. Deadeye, Berzerker is fine. Striker, Scrapper, I think this is fine. And Sharpshooter, easily securing its place in the C tier. I think this is the list I would go with for the NAEU release, taking into account the changes coming from Korea, the stat changes, the field of view changes, the knockup changes, and the reduced time changes. I think this is the best list that you can probably have. I think this is fairly balanced. And there you have it, guys. That is the end of the video. That is all of the tier lists, and that is the changes that you should see coming to the NAEU region. Again, I don't know if this is going to be what we get the moment the game comes out. We're gonna have to experience this together, but I think this is gonna give you guys a better understanding of what to expect in the future, because I do know it will be coming to us very soon if it's not there during the launch. Now, with that said, guys, thank you again for watching the video. Don't forget to like as well as subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next Lost Ark video. Later.